In the aftermath of the bloodbath that was the 2024 election, the left has been doing some soul searching. The populist uprising and broadening coalition of the right is now an urgent threat. The knee-jerk reactions of censorship and lawfare have run their course. The left is put in an uncomfortable position of actually having to be an attractive party again. For years, they were the ones that ran the better campaigns, basically posturing as Santa Claus to not only every minority in the US, but across the globe. But campaigning is different from actually running the country. And with 12 out of the last 16 years under Democrat control, we can safely say that they suck at running the country. On a state level, blue states are a mess, and COVID exposed how simply moving to a red state could give people a tangible increase in well-being. With the vibe shift at its zenith, with the left losing all branches of government on paper, we get to the $64,000 question. That's $767,677 adjusted for inflation. Should the left change course? Committed midwits say no.
As I said earlier, some leftists are getting scarily obsessed with those far-right voters. That leads them to tone down their discourse on racism and the police. They ask us to stop using words like intersectionality, feminism, or gender because it will scare away potential voters. Their strategy is very simple. Shut the woke's mouth up. That is such a depressing view of left-wing politics. When did woke become a weakness? It's only recently that woke became a bad thing. And that's because right-wing media decided it was a bad thing. So it really pains me when I see left-wing people use it the same way the right does. It's a form of surrender. It validates the right's criticism. The same applies to feminism, anti-racism, or the fight for LGBTQ+ rights. These terms carry so much history and meaning, but we should stop using them because we don't want to scare people away. That's not what the left does. We don't surrender to right-wing discourse. We stay strong when the establishment tries to divide us. Our job isn't to be media-friendly. Our job is to shift paradigms. Have we forgotten the historical role of the left? Our mission as leftists is to politicize people through education or entertainment. Historically, the left has empowered the working class with the knowledge and structures they need to resist bosses. From the 1960s, feminist, LGBTQ+ activist, and anti-racism movement politicized the personal. They democratized concepts like sexism, racism, and homophobia so that people could politicize their personal experiences of discrimination and organize to fight for a better society. The left empowered people who did not vote to finally play a role in society. Still today, the feminist movement, anti-racism movement, and LGBTQ+ movement bring millions of votes to the left, but now we are told we shouldn't talk about those issues because we scare potential voters away? It's the exact opposite!
Clearly, the toothpaste is out of the tube, which is why I find the pivot to Ezra Klein's abundance proposal interesting. Rather than contain the left's insanity, the left should just get better at good governance, ensuring we're all so wealthy and distracted that no one will care what the left is doing to us behind the scenes. This is actually not that bad of an idea if you hearken back to the premise laid out in Morgas' Is the West an Elephant on Stilts article. The idea that if bread and circuses are sufficient enough, people are largely indifferent and unaware of the inner workings of statecraft and social engineering. We shouldn't be consumed by the total state, but yet we are, in part due to how we notice it's all falling apart. The left lost men in this last election, and by lost I mean seethe with anger that men even exist and rue the fact that they can't just murder all of them. David Hogg, a man, albeit debatably, has somehow decided to be a voice for the voiceless.
Right now, what I think happened last election is younger men, they would rather vote for somebody who, even if they don't completely agree with, they don't feel judged by, than somebody who they do agree with, that they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around constantly because they're going to be judged or ostracized or excommunicated. And what's interesting about this moment is it feels like the two parties in some senses have flipped, where, Republicans used to be the judgmental assholes in many ways. And since many Democrats, despite us, I would say for most of us coming from the right place of wanting to do the right thing, we've created a culture where we say, well, if you say the wrong thing, you're excommunicated. And that's just not how human beings work. Nobody is perfect, but ultimately what we have to do here is figure out how to bring people back in and work towards the bigger goal of advancing the future of this country and helping young people especially get by so that they're able to focus on their lives and, getting with a young woman or something like that instead of how are they going to pay their rent, for example, or how are they working their 2 jobs. Young people should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which is how to get laid and how to go and have fun. Rather,
David Hogg for president, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see you. We'll see you back here, I'm sure, very soon.
I believe these 3 ideas are all connected. The abundance proposal is a way to placate men from abandoning the party due to the crazies. Limp-wristed efforts to bring men on board with people like Tim Walz was a profound failure. There's something not right about him, and every man feels it. It's probably because he's gay, or a pedophile, or a gay pedophile. The clinker is that the left can't actually build. The bio-Leninistic byproduct of DEI has ensured that all foot soldiers of the left are functionally retarded. Sure, 4 different races and genders can assemble on a college campus for a nice photo shoot, but can they run the country? I don't think so. It's impossible to create abundance with idiots at the helm who were only hired because of their skin color or genitals instead of their skill sets. That's not to say meritocracy doesn't have its issues too, particularly in the way that it creates a non-trivial amount of losers, which any good government should have the wherewithal to account for. But the left, of course, decides to do the stupidest thing possible and put the losers at the helm. Well, you don't get to put those losers at the top and then proclaim that abundance is inevitable. These losers are preoccupied with climate change, the mating habits of migratory birds, microaggressions, the trans rights of infants. They're terrified of their own mortality, and thus, because of all of these things, they predictably self-sabotage any project they try to take on. This is why the left never fulfilled its promises after vanquishing the right after Obama's election. He had millennials and Gen Xers by the balls, poised to rise to the challenge of creating a leftist utopia, and somewhere along the way it all went wrong. Because every viral police body cam footage, every MS-13 gang member that's deported, every anti-Semitic tweet on X is an opportunity for the left to lose the plot.
All information has been weaponized. All communication has become performative. And on the most important topics, it now seems to be fury and sanctimony and bad faith almost all the time. We appear to be driving ourselves crazy, actually crazy, as in incapable of coming into contact with reality, unable to distinguish fact from fiction, and then becoming totally destabilized by our own powers of imagination and confirmation bias, and then lashing out at one another on that basis.
The old left, the boomers obsessed with civic nationalism, are taking to the streets to once again reenact civil rights era politics. At this point, it's beginning to look like a ghost dance, a ritual act dedicated to a god that no longer exists, or is at least powerless in its current form. Here's 1 Kings 18, 27-29. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. "Shout louder," he said. "Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened." And so they shouted louder and slashed themselves with swords and spears, as was their custom, until their blood flowed. Midday passed, and they continued their frantic prophesying until the time for the evening sacrifice. But there was no response. No one answered, and no one paid attention. Democracy is a false god. The old left, that largely hasn't been captured by the radicals, are often la-la land, pretending that every issue is a rehash of civil rights, that every issue can be fixed by protesting and holding signs on a street corner. They also pretend, and this is the biggest fantasy, that a fascist dictator will somehow be stopped by this. And even more pathetic, these people are approaching death. The No Kings protests in my town were comprised of people who couldn't even stand up while protesting. We've ended up with rows of the elderly sitting in lawn chairs, holding generic signs and seeming to wait for the sweet release of death. And I foresee this type of behavior dying out with boomers. After almost a decade of vicious standard attacks that come from opposition research, the left exhausted its attempts at slander. They've weaponized the intelligence agencies on him. They weaponized the court system in order to wage all-out legal warfare on him. They tried arresting him, raiding Mar-a-Lago, rummaging through Melania's panty drawer. They even tried to shoot him in the face on live TV. They tried to murder him on his own golf course. And yet, despite all of that, boomers will set out on a street corner with a sign that says fascism with a line through it, as if that is what is finally going to take this guy down. Yeah, do another Cheeto joke. Yeah, call him Donald Dump. It's a complete inability to read the room, to know what time it is, to understand where we are, how power works, or even why they lost every swing state and the popular vote. I mean, this level of political retardation is not long for this world. The day of the pillow cannot come fast enough, for both sides. All Democrats have to do is not seem completely insane, and the American public will soon forget all about Biden and Harris. Instead, they'll likely choose Democrat rhetoric over Trump's insane foreign policy, which reeks of early 2000s era Bush politics. And that's not a winning formula, and the Democrats know this. On the other hand, will Zohran Mamdani create abundance in New York? Probably not. But this is why it's so important that the Trump administration get its focus on America first. Because without it, a power vacuum will form and people like Mamdani will take its place. Without real tangible change being felt during the Trump years, it gives the left a toehold to build back the political capital they pissed away during the woke years. I think this is what their pivot's going to be. Only time will tell if my prediction is true. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and type of content I'm making, consider giving this video a like or maybe subscribing. It helps the algorithm, it helps my channel, it helps boost the videos. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.